I'm not really sure what to think of this week, but either way, I think I'm disappointed. This past week of training was week 83, and it was the first week moving away from the typical volume into a lower volume, higher intensity. Tuesday went really, really well, and I was looking on track to be where I wanted to be fatigue-wise. Thursday, during the tempo squats, the tendonitis on my right arm came back to a degree that is affecting all the lifts except for the deadlift, and I also re-pulled my trap. So I didn't know it before in any of the previous videos, but 2 weeks ago I pulled what I think anyway is my left trap, and it's aggravating because the trap affects the shoulder, the neck, the back. It's a lot, and so many positions were very, very painful to move in. If I could move in them, everything was very stiff, and it got better after the first time it happened within 5 days or so, and then I re-pulled it last week, and then it got better again, and then just this past Thursday everything was fine, and at the last set of presses I pulled it again, and you can see the last rep of my pressing sets on Thursday went up really slowly. It got up to, 70% of the way to lockout, and then it really slowed down before I finished it out. Ah, man, it sucks. Today, squats felt really bad, and I talk a lot about how things feel, which can and cannot be useful. But in this case, I just wasn't expecting the squats to be as hard as they were, or to feel as bad as they did, but there it is. Benching was also really hard. Deadlifting felt easy. I underestimated what I could do for deadlifting. And the tendonitis came back with the squats today as well, so that affected the bench. So unfortunately, what I think all this means is that instead of running out the next couple of weeks with higher intensity work, I just need to let everything fade away and then see what I can do peak-wise and call it at that. Unfortunately, I don't think the tendonitis is going to go away until I start reducing the load. And obviously in a peak, that's not what you want to do. So the goal is going to be peak much quicker than expected, and then rehab that and make sure it doesn't continue to get worse and worse, because if I just continue to pound away at it for weeks on end, it's going to get really bad. And I've been there before, and I don't want to be there again. That'll be the most unproductive thing I could do. As far as the trap goes, even now it feels fine, but I need to not press next week. And I hate saying that because usually I would say, well, I just need to press less weight or less volume or whatever, but I'm in a peak and I don't want any of that to compromise what I could potentially do on the other lifts. So the press is kind of thrown to the wayside for now. So I think what the plan is going to be is going to go for a bench PR on Tuesday, a squat PR on Thursday, and a deadlift PR on Saturday. The reason being that the bench press with as much volume as I've taken off is going to be the first thing to start to deteriorate. So I'll get that out of the way, and I won't have the squat, potentially tendonitis interfering with it. And then the squat will have enough fatigue dissipated by Thursday to where I can hit a heavy single there. And even if the tendonitis comes back, it won't affect any other lifts, and I should be good for Saturday to do that deadlift. It's weird thinking about how things are supposed to feel in these situations and how you want them to feel. I think in my mind, what I expect to happen in a peak like this is for me to constantly feel like I can push more and more weight as the weeks go on and as the volume gets tapered down. I feel like I'm in the dark with training. I feel like whatever I'm doing is wrong, that I shouldn't be feeling the way I am, that it's not going the way I would hope it to be. But I think it's important to note all of that, because at the end of the day, what happens is I'm going to learn from it. The truly disappointing thing, the reason why I said I'm disappointed today, is because I had this plan, and regardless of how it turned out, I was definitely going to learn something. I was going to have real data that I could use to build future training. The problem is, I've injured myself twice. They're not major injuries, but the tendonitis and the trap pulling, both of those are things that have affected my lifts. and it's affecting the way that I'm carrying forward with the plan. So regardless of how it turns out at this point, I don't know how much I could use from this last few weeks of training to carry over into the future, because it's not an accurate representation of how a plan was established and worked through. It's not giving me accurate results because I'm not in optimal lifting condition. But you know what? I'm gonna rest up this weekend. I get to go into next week not worrying about any kind of lifting at all. We're just gonna hit the gym Tuesday and do a really heavy bench. And then I'm gonna go in on Thursday and get a really heavy squat. And then I'm gonna go in on Saturday and get a really heavy deadlift. And I think if I can be assured about anything right now, it's that I'm going into a week that won't be filled with a crap ton of volume. And that is definitely something to look forward to. So we'll see what happens.